Welcome all the participants. Dr. K. Nagashri from Aditya Bangalore Institute of Pharmacy Education and Research. We heartily welcome you, respected sir, teachers, students, and all other participants. Dr. K. Nagashri, request you all to be in off video mode before we start the session, and I request you again, as I instructed already, please stay back till the end of the session, where in the chat box the feedback link will be given to you. Please do submit it to receive your e-certificates at the earliest. Respected speaker of the session, Dr. Nalini Kanta Sahu sir, my dear teachers, students, and other fellow pharmacists, we welcome you to the webinar series 14 with the topic Pharmacovigilance, a new era and its impact on the society. So we'll have a little introduction about sir before we directly get into the session. So we have tried our level best to minimize sir's bio because it was extending, probably if I gave introduction for sir, it would have taken a full session. So I tried to reduce it at the earliest, but in fact, I want to give all the details. So let us get into it. Dr. Nalini Kanto Saho, sir, is currently Professor and HOD, PG Department of Pharmaceutical Analysis and Quality Assurance at Murray Lakshman Reddy Institute of Pharmacy, Hyderabad. Sir totally has an experience of 13 years, in which 12 years it is into teaching and 1 year into industry. And previously, sir has worked as QA executive at Shilpa Medicare Private Limited, Raichur. Then sir has worked as assistant professor in Yalamurthy Pharmacy College, Vishakhapatnam, in Department of Pharmaceutical Analysis and Quality Assurance. Sir has worked as Associate Professor, Department of Pharmaceutical Analysis, MNR College of Pharmacy, Sangareddy, Telangana. And sir's academic qualifications include, sir has done his PhD from School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, O. Anusandhan University, BBSR, Orissa. Sir has done his bachelor's and master's in pharmaceutical analysis and quality assurance from the College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Orissa. And other academic qualifications include statistical reasoning and algorithm in pharmacovigilance, Uppsala Monitoring Center, Sweden. And sir is currently holding 3 research positions, as we can see on the screen. Research scientist in Vision Science Research, Malaysia. Then committee member and head, YASHALI Global Multidisciplinary Research Organization, and his brand ambassador for Bentham Science Publishers. Sir is holding, I'm making it a little short. As you can see on the screen, sir is holding 10 advisory positions, like president, advisory board member, conference committee organizer, advisor, chief editor, and PhD consultant, external examiner, and subject matter expert, freelancing. You can see sir has touched all the different areas. And sir is a PhD supervisor for the for the Department of Pharmacy for Sri Jagdish Prasad Jambarwal, Tibrewala University, and Pacific University, Udaipur. Sir is an editorial member for 60 international journals, holding various positions like editor-in-chief, executive editor, editorial member, section editor, advisory editor, and associate editor. And sir is reviewer for 6 international journals across the globe. And his academic achievements include receiving the Best Professor Pharmacy Award in 2018 from the then Chief Minister of AP, Sri K. Roshaya, and the Best Research Paper in 2020. Then received the Best Teacher Award for Zero Investment Innovations for Educational Initiatives from Education Minister Sri Ramesh Pokriwal in 2019. And sir has won first prize DST sponsored 2-day national level seminar held in Jayamukhi College of Pharmacy in 2019. Sir was selected for INC HOD of the Year Award 2019. Sir has been the Best Young HOD of the Year Award in Global Education and Corporate Leadership Awards in 2018. outstanding reviewer for the journal entitled Sports and Exercise Medicine in 2018. He was recognized as regular reviewer from the Journal of Thabia University, Taylors and Francis. University's second rank in M.Pharm in Biju Patnaik University of Technology, Orissa in 2008. And he also got University fourth rank in B.Pharm in Biju Patnaik University of Technology, Orissa in 2005. He was selected as a procurement inspector in OSCSC Government of Odisha in 2012. Selected as young professional in Secretariat Government of Odisha 2014. Then Sir has to his credit professional certificate courses like SRAP and Artificial Intelligence and Drug Discovery, completed a short course in drug review process. And Sir has handled various subjects in his teaching career for the UG and PG students. Then Sir has guided 25 UG students and 14 PG students. Then Sir has publications, 2 international books and 51 research publications. Actually, I thought of keeping all the research papers, but it would have become a book instead of biodata. So I shortened it, sir. Excuse me for that. So sir has a total of 51 research publications and 7 which are again under review. Then sir has administrative experience as examination in charge and HOD. Then PhD consultant and scientific writer, editors for various international journals, probably more than 60. Reviewer for 3 journals and HOD and PG department, that's a current position. Sir is working at MLR Institute of Pharmacy, Hyderabad. And development activities, sir participated in various seminars and training programs. And as you can see, the professional memberships, if I start reading, we have so many over here. So sir is a lifetime member for all the, pharmacy council. Okay, all the memberships. I think sir is already having them. And then proceedings published, we can see sir has eminence of pharmacy practice and advisement in pharmaceutical and health sciences. NFPS conference proceedings, Scholars Academic Journal of Pharmacy. Then 9th edition of International Conference on Mass Spectroscopy, and the 3rd International Conference on Research in Life Sciences and Healthcare. Then Sir has attended more than 37 seminars and conferences where he has either attended or presented the papers. And Sir is a resource person, a speaker. He has delivered talk for at least 7 conferences and webinars across the globe. And Sir has organized more than 24 guest lectures on various topics, broad topics. And then Sir's area of interest is teaching, analytical and bioanalytical R&D, quality assurance and research, etc. So I tried my level best to cut short in Sir's bio, but still it extended for more than 3 pages. So I think we take inspiration from you, sir. From now, I hand over the session to you. I'm stopping the screen share. You can start the screen share, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nagasri, for introducing me in a brief manner. And as far as my knowledge is concerned, I have tried my level best to put all these things in my biodata. So I'm still improvising because, as you know, life is a continuous learning process. So we are in a state of learning always. Okay. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of number of participants as I can able to see. So without any delay, I'll start sharing my screen and I'll start the topic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, I hope it is visible to all the participants, all the people.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Yeah. So shall I proceed?
Yes, sir, you can make it full screen and start.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, now I have made full screen. I think it is full screen. It is visible to you, madam. I think so.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you again. So good afternoon to all of you, all the participants, respected principal madam, if she is there, then my colleagues who have invited me, Dr. Nagasri, Dr. Suchitra Madam, for this invitation and for delivering this lecture. I'm very happy for this. So actually, my core subject, as Madam has introduced, that I belong to especially pharmaceutical analysis department, but still I have interest in this pharmacovigilance area. That is why I did one course also, SRAP course from Sweden. And today's topic I want to deliver on pharmacovigilance, a new era and its impact on society. So, what is the impact on society, that I'll discuss today. So, as you know, all of you, I think most of the students will be there, or most of the participants will be there from, graduate level. I think they are for them. It is a wonderful opportunity for after completion of their B Pharmacy, they can start their opportunity in this pharmacovigilance sector with a minimum package of 2.4, 2.5. So it depends upon your calibrity and depends upon the company profile. So this is a very new area, and as you can say, this is a very emerging area also, where you can prospect, you can grow also, right? And you can establish in your future also. So I'll start with that pharmacovigilance in this topic. In this talk, I'll try to complete maximum whatever possible. So this is my agenda of this talk. As you can see here, aims, responsibilities, need of pharmacovigilance, governing bodies. Then I'll discuss about your methods of pharmacovigilance. What are the different methods of pharmacovigilance? Then pharmacovigilance inspections. How to inspect the pharmacovigilance, means how to go for different pharmacovigilance inspection. Next we can go for, I'll give a little idea on adverse drug reactions. What is adverse drug reactions? Then applications of pharmacovigilance. What are the different applications, or in which area we can apply this pharmacovigilance, or how the pharmacovigilance can be useful. And also I'll discuss some of the terminologies what are we are coming across in your pharmacovigilance. Next is your PMS, that is called post marketing surveillance, which is a very recent area where we can get the job also. PMS, that is called the post marketing surveillance. I'll come in that in details. Next one is your pharmacovigilance program in India, in what is going on in our India, PVPI, that is called pharmacovigilance program in India. Okay, and who are the regulatory bodies, how it is governed, and what are the different procedures. Okay, next I'll discuss about your WHO program, World Health Organization program for international drug monitoring, how to monitor the drug, you can say IDM, how to do the IDM through WHO. So that I'll discuss. Also I'll discuss about your pharmacovigilance of medical devices, pharmacovigilance of your herbal medicines, so how these things can be done. So these are the part of my talk today. Okay, so first of all, the introduction part, what is pharmacovigilance? As you know, it is in this, the one term is their vigilance. As you know, whenever somebody is having somebody cheated money and he has gathered more money, so vigilant people are behind them. So they are behind them, how this person got lot of money, so they are vigilating means they are investigating. So here pharmacovigilance means what? We are vigilating the drug. So you can say pharmacovigilance, it is derived from one Greek word, that is two Greek words. One is your pharmakon and one is your vigiler. So pharmakon means it means your drug, whereas vigiler means it is to keep watch. So what is that? You can say pharmacovigilance, it is defined as drug to keep watch. Means we have to keep watch on drug. So we have to be to keep our eyes on your drug. Why? Because you know why, what is the reason why to keep our eyes on the drug? Even though drug is beneficial to our body, in case of any diseased condition, if any person is suffering of any disease, then we are administering the drug through different routes. Okay, like your oral route, we can give through IV route, IM route, whatever, right? So liquid dosage form, so whatever different formulations are available. So what is the need of watching the drug? What drug will do the body? So that is our main objective here. See, apart from this drug, what is the medicinal effect it is showing? So we have to see also simultaneously what is the drug is doing, any adverse drug reactions to the body or not, because of drug is there, or you can say, is the drug safe to the body. So that is our work, we have to watch. So pharmacovigilance main work is to what? Is to see or is to look after whether the drug is safe for the body or not, or the drug is how much it is safe, up to what extent it is safe. So that is also, that is part of your pharmacovigilance. I hope all the participants have got a idea about an idea about this pharmacovigilance. So pharmacovigilance is nothing but it is a study of, or it is a branch of science and activities. It is related to detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects. So how to prevent these adverse effects, how to detect the adverse effect, means how to find out the adverse effect, how to assess the adverse effect, okay, and how to assess means how to evaluate the adverse effect, and how to know what stage that adverse effect is there, how to understand the pathophysiology, everything. So that sorry, so this is a part of your pharmacovigilance. Okay, this is nothing but, as I said, detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention. Okay, ultimately we need to prevent adverse drug reactions. I'll come to that picture, why this pharmacovigilance came into the picture. Okay, so what are the different aims of your pharmacovigilance? You can see here, to improve patient care and safety. So how we can improvise the patient care and safety, how to take the care of the patient, how to make that patient out of danger conditions, means if suppose the drug is doing some adverse drug reactions to the body. Okay, some, to improve public health and safety, we can aware the people of the drug, we can make them aware. Because see, some of the drugs are there like your NSAIDs. If you take over usage of the drug, your NSAIDs, it may cause hepatotoxicity. Okay, and ultimately if that hepatotoxicity will continues, then you may face some of the cancers. Okay, liver cancers may be happened. So that time we cannot control all these things. Okay, so it is better, prevention is better than cure. Okay, so that is why, to improve public safe public health and safety, by awareing the people about the drug, how much that drug is safe to the society or to the patients. Okay, so that the next followers, those who are going to take that particular drug, they can safely take that particular drug. Okay, next one, the next aim is your to contribute to the assessment of benefit, harm, effectiveness, risk of medicine. So we can do all these things. Okay, next, to promote education and clinical training. As I told, we can educate the people. Okay, we can educate the physicians, so that physicians can tell to the patients when they are prescribing that particular drug, they can give the information. See, if you take this drug, so this drug may cause this kind of problem, so you should be aware, you can avoid over usage of this particular drug. One example I'm telling you. Okay, like as I told you already, I have told that example, your hepatotoxic drugs, means those drugs which are causing hepatotoxicity, like your NSAIDs, right? Next, to promote a rational and safe use of medicines, how to use the medicines safely. See, always there is a therapeutic effect of the drug, we are studying about the therapeutic effect always. Okay, but we are not concerned about your about the safetyness of the drug. I'm telling you one example. You are going to market, suppose from your home, there are three possible routes are there. Route 1, route 2, route 3 is there. Route 2 is very short to the market, that is 2 kilometer. Route 1 is 5 kilometer. Route 3 is 7 kilometer. So route 2 is your 2 kilometer only. So always you will prefer the shortest route. But in the shortest route, you may find some criminals. There is a chance that you may find some criminals. So ultimately, you have to avoid that. Okay, why? Because and out of these three routes, which one is 7 kilometers? Evaluation says that route 3 is the safest route. So you will choose the route 3 to reach to the market. Okay, so here what you are seeing the safety and efficacy, you are seeing the safetiness of yourself. Okay, in which route you will go to the market, so that you will not face any danger, right? That is why you are avoiding the route 1 and route 2 you are avoiding. Why? Because it is full of criminals. Okay, so making you safe, you are making yourself safe. To go through that route 2, you are preferring that route 2. That is what the same thing here I'm going to discuss about this drug. So unless the drug is having, even though the therapeutic effect, but you have to concentrate on the safetyness of the drug, efficiency of that particular drug, how in on other word you can say how it is going to be safe for you, right? These are the aims of your pharmacovigilance study. Next, responsibilities: timely collection of the data, recording notifications, appropriate assessments, how to assess the your data which you are going to collect from the patients, right? Then expedited and periodic reporting, all these things I'll tell you what are those actually. Expedited, you can say, as I told you, route 2 is the shortest route to reach to the market, but it should be safe, right? Even though you are going to report the adverse drug reactions very fast to the physicians, to the regulatory authorities, then it should be very fast, provided that it should be some usefulness also, right? So expedited, periodic reporting means how you are reporting to the higher authorities, means you can say how you are reporting the adverse drug reactions of the particular drug to the regulatory bodies, to the physicians, to the pharma companies or whatever. Okay, so that the pharma companies, they may be aware of the particular drug, they will take special care about that drug, so that they can prevent that particular adverse drug reactions happened because of that particular drug. Okay, physicians, they can take care of that particular instructions, they can take the informations, and they can make reach of these informations to the patients, so that the patients may be aware. So before usage of that particular drug, before using particular drug, right? Next one, creates appropriate structures for communication. So how to communicate also to the regulatory bodies, to the physicians, to the other controlling bodies. So that I'll also discuss. Okay, so these are the responsibilities of your pharmacovigilance sector. So who has to report? The pharmacovigilance executive. Okay, if you are going to work in this pharmacovigilance field, then this is your responsibility to collect the data from the patients, to collect the adverse drug reactions from of the patients from the hospitals, and you need to inform to the your physicians, you need to inform to the regulatory authorities, you need to inform to the pharmaceutical companies, right? So these are the responsibilities, right? Next one, why this? As I told you, why this pharmacovigilance came into the picture. As you can see in this slide, one picture is there, one baby is there without means limbs, you can say, or with shortening of the limbs. This condition is called your phocomelia. Okay, so this phocomelia condition happened because of the drug that is your thalidomide. Okay, so thalidomide drug is taken by the pregnant women, I mean, so during their pregnancy, and this thalidomide drug is taken by the pregnant women during their pregnancy, and this thalidomide drug is taken by the pregnant women during their pregnancy, and this
మేడం ఇంటరప్ట్ అయింది కదా లేదు సార్ది పోయినట్టుంది స్క్రీన్ I request all the participants to be little patient. I think there is some technical issue with sir's screen. I request for the participants to be little patient and stay on with us till sir comes back.
The participants, sir will be joining in few minutes. There is some internet connectivity issue. Please hold on.
So, dear participant, there is a little technical issue. Sir is trying to reconnect it back. We have sir back again. So, handing over the session to you, sir.
I'm audible, madam?
Sir, yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, okay, okay. Sorry for the interruption. Actually, power went here.
No
So
problem,
sorry
sir.
for the. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Our participants are too good and they are very patient with us, sir.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. And sorry on behalf of means from my side. Okay. A phone କରୁଛି ସେପଟକୁ. Okay. So as I told you, this need of pharmacovigilance. So need of pharmacovigilance. What is the need of pharmacovigilance in this actually? So why? Because
So, sorry to interrupt you. You need to share your screen, sir.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, 1 minute. Sorry for the things. I'm sharing, madam. Just a minute. 1 minute.
No problem, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. It is visible, madam, now.
Yes, sir, it is starting to get visible. It takes a few seconds more, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, suddenly this power went
Yes, sir.
because
Cannot
of that
predict
this
it.
problem
Yes,
happened.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you can maximize it and start it. It is visible, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, dear participants, I think there is a power cut with sir, and sir is trying to log in through mobile. Please kindly be a little more patient and hang on with us. We'll be right back to you. And we heartily thank you all for being too patient with us and being there without logging off. Thank you so much for that. Yes, we have sir back. So let us give sir 2 more minutes so that sir can start the session and start screen sharing with us. Hello, sir.
Yeah, just a minute, madam.
Yes, sir.
I'm sharing.
Okay, sir. We have very sweet audience today, sir.
Yeah. No, sorry from my side. Actually, this is a
No
mistake from
problem,
my
sir.
side. Missed
That-
not.
This is,
Yeah.
we cannot predict it. Power cut and all. No problem, sir. As I
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
we
yeah.
already have a sweet audience. No problem with that. Thank you, sir. Handing over the
Yeah,
session to you, sir.
yeah, it is visible, madam. It is visible now.
Yes, sir. You can maximize it and start the
Yeah,
session.
I'm just maximum. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah. So you are able to see, madam,
Yes,
the
sir. It
screen
is
and
sweet.
everything.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry for the interruptions, dear participants. You are I'm making you wait. Because current went here, so that is the problem happened. So need for pharmacovigilance. Why this happened actually? As you know, actually in your 1962, one of the drug was there. That is your thalidomide. Because of this thalidomide usage, there is some means when the pregnant women, they started taking this particular drug to avoid their motion sickness. So what happened when they have given birth to their babies were born without the limbs. That condition is called your phocomelia conditions. Okay, so these phocomelia conditions, because of that, this is the adverse drug reactions of this over usage of your thalidomide. Okay, so from that time this pharmacovigilance came into the picture, and the scientists, they have worked on this particular field, and they have done all these kind of necessary things to prevent this, to assess, to evaluate these adverse drug reactions, and to prevent these adverse drug reactions. Okay, so this is the need why we are going for this pharmacovigilance. Okay, next one. You can see here safe use of medicines. These are the necessary things. Adverse reactions are expensive, you can say. You can see here the governing bodies. Who are the governing bodies actually to regulate this particular pharmacovigilance, like your pharmaceutical industry, regulatory authorities, WHO collaborating center for international drug monitoring, as I told you, IDM. Okay, so WHO collaborating center, various countries, various centers will be there in our India, like your TCGI is there to investigate all this. IPC is there. Okay, next one, your CIOMS, that is your Council for International Organization of Medical Sciences. So these are the governing bodies. They are who are means the governing bodies who are looking after this particular, or who are evaluating this pharmacovigilance. Okay, next to discuss, as you can see in the picture here, there is a connecting link between here, as you can see, right? So there are medical staff are there, medical representative there, pharmacovigilance executive. So this is, suppose you are working in the pharmacovigilance sector, so this is the person yourself only. So you have to coordinate among all these people, so you can directly inform to the medical advisory team, and these medical advisory team, they will inform to the regulatory bodies. Okay, about what? About the adverse drug reactions of that particular drug, any drug, suppose phocomelia, about the adverse drug reactions of your the drug, that is your you can say your thalidomide. Also your chloramphenicol drug is there. Chloramphenicol side effect is your gray baby syndrome, right? So, or bone marrow depression, these are the adverse drug reactions of the drug, your chloramphenicol. So you can check out those adverse drug reactions, you can collect the data from the patients, and you need to inform to the regulatory bodies here. Okay, also you can communicate with your, how to mitigate the risk. Okay, you can communicate to the regulatory bodies through the phone call also, you can directly call them also. Okay, directly you can interact with the patients also, you can collect the data from them also. You can inform to the medical representative, so that the medical representative will inform to the medical staff. Okay, medical staff, they will inform to the doctor, so doctor will inform to the patients, so patients also directly they can call to the regulatory body. So you cannot say this is the responsibility of only the pharmacovigilance executive or the doctor or anybody. So it is the responsibility of every human being. Okay, starting from the patients to the doctor to the pharmacovigilance executive. So this is a teamwork, you can say, right? So this is a flowchart showing how the pharmacovigilance process is going on, means how we are reporting the adverse drug reactions to the regulatory bodies. Okay, then you can see here methods of pharmacovigilance. So what are the different methods of pharmacovigilance? ICSR is there. You can see clinical review of case reports, cohort event monitoring, CEM, longitudinal electronic patient records, spontaneous recording reporting, periodic safety update reports, expedited report, record linkage. So these are the various you can say report or various methods of pharmacovigilance. So one by one we'll discuss individual case safety reports. Individual case safety reports means it is the responsibility of every patient. Every patient they can directly, as I have shown you in the particular chart, in the previous chart, means they can directly inform to the regulatory bodies directly, or they can inform to the your you can say the medical doctor, or the medical staff, they can directly inform, right? So like it is a yellow card system in your UK, United Kingdom, they're following one yellow card system. So like that, so everybody is possessing one yellow card system. Okay, so they have that authorization to inform directly to the regulatory bodies. Okay, next one, your clinical review of case reports. So clinical review of case reports means we have to, the quality report is variable. Large national and international organizations collect hundreds and thousands reports each year. Every year they are collecting hundreds to thousand reports from the patients, from they are going to hospitals, they are collecting the patients data, they're seeing all the adverse drug reaction, any adverse reactions they are facing. So everything they are collecting, and even if each report could be reviewed, so they have to review the report. Important reporting means this is the work of your pharmacovigilance executive. Then computational have therefore been developed to help highlighting the most urgent problems. So any urgent problem you have to monitor there. So this is the clinical review of case report. So whatever the case report you are getting from the patients, so that one you have to find out which one is more crucial among them. Okay, suppose you have got 10 patients data, one is just suffering that post antibiotic effect. Okay, suppose they are taking continuously antibiotics, after taking usage of antibiotics they are going to face, suppose, loose motions. So that is not a big means adverse reactions, you can say. So you have to choose out of them excellent one. So which one is more severe conditions? Okay, like your, as I told you, phocomelia. So phocomelia is just more severe conditions, so that you have to find out and you have to report. Okay, so this is about your clinical review of case reports. Okay, then cohort event monitoring. Cohort event monitoring means, as I told you, this is very particular to particular drugs, very specific drugs only. Okay, not all the drugs. So that is why this is very underused. Underused means this is very less used. Okay, so you have to go for specific drugs only. Okay, like your, suppose your antibiotics, penicillin. Okay, penicillin, it is very much hypersensitive. Okay, so patients to patients, their response also different to those particular drugs. So you have to find out that, means you are investigating only a specific drugs. Okay, next one, as you can see here, longitudinal electronic patient records. What is that actually? This is very important. Nowadays every hospitals, they are maintaining computer systems. So we need to go to the hospitals, means the pharmacovigilance executive will go to the hospitals. They have to take the records from the doctor. So it depends upon the doctor how you are able to manage the doctor, right? Because sometimes what will happen, the doctors, they are not willing to share the data of the patients. Okay, so this is somewhat very difficult process, you can say. So longitudinal electronic patient records, every patient nowadays we are not maintaining in the hospitals, they are maintaining all the data in in their computer system. So whenever you might have means remembered, whenever you are going to the doctor many times, means the hospital, private hospitals, they are asking your number, mobile number, registered mobile number. So whenever they are putting your registered mobile number, your details are coming. So no need to tell again what is your details, what is the age, what is your name, all these things. Okay, so all the data they will get. So ultimately they will prepare the file and they will send you to the doctor, right? So those data you can collect from the your from the hospitals, from the computer systems, by managing the doctor, right? So this is your longitudinal reports. Okay, next one, as you can see, spontaneous reporting. Spontaneous reporting, this report might be directly to the company. So pharmacovigilance executive directly, they can inform to the company, or they can inform directly to the regulatory authorities. As I told you, some of the regulatory authorities are also there, right? And some main limitation is under reporting. Here some of the limitations are also there. Okay, there is a chance, because we have some limitations. We cannot tell all these things directly to the regulatory bodies, or to the you can say pharmaceutical companies. Okay, so this is about your spontaneous reporting. And next is your, as you can see, reporting methods and templates. So what are the reporting methods? Means how you are reporting, means like your patient name, what is the age, what is the drug they are taking, since how long they are taking that particular drug, and what are the adverse drug reactions they are facing. All those things you have to write in one report. Those report you need to either send by the hard copy by post, or you can send the soft copy by fax, or you can send by through email, right? So this is about your reporting methods, how we are reporting these adverse drug reactions to the regulatory bodies, to the you can say pharmaceutical companies, right? Sorry. And another reporting is your there PSUR, that is called periodic safety update reports. Okay, periodic safety update report, it is widely used nowadays. What is that actually? This is actually, it is dependent upon your post marketing surveillance. Post marketing surveillance means when the drug is released into the market, you know, see, before one drug you have manufactured, so that drug you have gone for clinical trials. As you know, in the clinical trials we are going for phase 0, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, all these things, right? To see the safety and efficacy of the drug, whether the drug is safe or not, whether drug is having any toxicological reactions or not, that we are able to find out. Then we are reporting. Okay, so that those things in your, this is happening in your what is that, clinical trials. So clinical trial is your pre-marketing clinical trials, pre-marketing phase, that is called pre-marketing phase. Means right now the drug is not launched, the drug is already completed its clinical trial. Okay, it is about to be launched into the market. Okay, so when it will be launched into the market, it is very important. Why? Because clinical trials we are doing it on specific number of patients. Okay, but whenever it is released into the market, number of patients are growing, patients are taking more and more, right? Those who are facing that kind of diseases, so they are facing those kind of diseases, and they are going to, what is that called, it is very important, crucial time, that moment. So this is a part of your, you can say, your post marketing surveillance. So post marketing surveillance is playing a major role in case of PSUR, periodic safety update reports. In that, what we are doing, whenever the drug is launched into the market, we are going to take the report from various patients. We are going to the market, we are going to different hospitals. From their hospital, that hospitals, we are taking the data of the patients, what drug they used to take, what adverse drug reactions they used to face. So all these data we are going to get, and finally what we are doing, we are gathering all these informations, and we are informing, you are reviewing those adverse drug reactions. So that is called your periodic safety update report. Means we are updating ourselves every time, we are updating the adverse drug reactions, because you know that all the patients, they are not having the same genetic constitutions. Okay, so that is why their response also to the same drug also will be different. That is why we are going for this periodic safety update reports. Periodic means periodically, in time to time, monthly once, monthly twice, monthly thrice, okay, weekly once. So we are going and we are taking the report, we are updating, we are informing to the, we are reviewing the adverse drug reactions, and we are informing to the higher you can say to the regulatory bodies. Okay, this is about your periodic safety update reports, which is widely used nowadays, right? Next one. You can see here expedited report. In the figure you can see one you can see one vehicle here, it is going very fast out of this report. So it is nothing but your expedited report. Okay, means you have to choose the shortest way to report about the adverse drug reactions to the regulatory bodies. Okay, because if it is a serious adverse drug reaction, suppose any new drug came into the market and it is having your any severe side effect, okay, immediately you need to inform to the regulatory authorities. Otherwise what will happen, if it will be widely spread in the market, then many patients are going to face this particular disease, and fatality rate also will be more. To prevent that, we need to go for expedited report. Expedited report, you can say directly, you can call in emergency case, you can call directly to the regulatory bodies, so that the regulatory bodies can take action and they can ban the drug. They can stop manufacturing of that particular drug. They can stop distributing of that particular drug into the market, right? So this is about your expedited report. Okay, a record linkage, or you can send also one email also. Expedited report, you can send one email to the regulatory bodies. I'll come to that also, how to send the means email. What is the email actually, right? So record linkage also. What is record linkage? Bring together a variety of patient records. So what you have to take, you have to take number of patients record, and you have to make the similarity in between them. Okay, what is the particular adverse? Because see, one drug may not be having a single adverse drug reactions. Okay, one drug may be having many adverse drug reactions. As I told you, chloramphenicol, it is having bone marrow depression, one adverse drug reactions. Chloramphenicol also one adverse drug reaction, that is gray baby syndrome. So some patients they may face gray baby syndromes. Some patients they may face, that is your bone marrow depressions. Okay, out of that you have to analyze which one is very severe conditions, which one is very severe adverse drug reactions. So you have to find that one, and you have to inform to the regulatory bodies. So that is about your what record linkage, right? Next one, as you can see here, pharmacovigilance inspection. So right now we have collected all these reports from the patients, from the hospitals, from different sources, right? Now what is the work actually? You need to inspect whether whatever the report we have got, whether it is correct one or not. Sometimes what will happen, to take revenge, suppose pharmacovigilance executive, he is taking the revenge, okay, on the pharmaceutical companies. So there is a chance also intentionally they may also report wrong things also. To investigate that, we should have a pharmacovigilance inspection also. Okay, so pharmacovigilance inspection, it is of two types of, one is your routine inspection, one is your targeted inspection. Okay, routine inspection means periodically you have to do, either yearly once. If it is okay, then you can give the permission for manufacturing of the particular drug for certain years, suppose 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you have given the permission. So during that, you don't have any rights to finger them out. Okay, you have this particular adverse reaction, you cannot question them, because they have got the permission to manufacture that particular drug, because they have that ethical approval. Okay, they have that particular regulatory approval. Okay, so routine inspection will be there. Targeted inspection, when it is done actually, targeted inspection when it is done in case of two things. One is your inspection irrelevant to the drug safety, inspection relevant to the drug safety. Okay, sorry. So inspection irrelevant to the drug safety. Irrelevant means we don't know about the drug safety, but we are inspecting. Okay, it is our responsibility. Targetedly we are doing, because sometimes what will happen, right now you can see the coronavirus drug remdesivir came. So how we know, we don't know how far it is safe for the patients, right? Some patients they may be, and we are giving a high dose of that particular drug. Okay, so the patients they may face also some of the adverse drug reactions. Okay, so that is why in that case we need to go for this targeted inspections. In this targeted inspection, what we are doing, in three cases we are doing. Irrelevant means it is not related to the safetyness. Simply we are going to evaluate here whether the drug is safe or not. Okay, so why, in which cases we are going for this one, targeted inspections for the means irrelevant relevant to the drug safety. First one is your companies that have not yet been inspected. Some companies who are manufacturing the drug, but they are not before inspected previously, they are not before inspected. Okay, that means we can expect, maybe whatever the drug they're manufacturing, maybe those drugs may be having some adverse drug reactions. Okay, so companies that have not been inspected. In second thing, companies that launch their first product, as I told you, when they're going to new launch a new drug product, means they have manufactured a new drug substance. So in that case you can go for this the targeted inspection. Also sometimes what will happen, the company right now, they are in loss. Some companies they are in loss, so what they want to close those companies, but certainly it is very difficult to close those companies. If they will close the companies, whatever the expenditure they have done for establishment, so these things will go to when. So what they are doing, they are merged with some big companies. Okay, like your Sun Pharma, some problem happened, so they are merged with all these things. Okay, so that is what, in that case, small companies, they are merged with your some higher companies. Okay, so in that case, that in why they are merged, some doubts are coming into the inspectors. So they are going to inspect whether because of whatever the drug they are manufacturing, they are producing, whether they are safe or not. If they are not safe, because of that they are maybe closing, or what. So actual matter they want to know. Because of that they can go for this inspection, targeted inspections. Okay, another one, inspections relevant to the drug safety. Okay, so whenever it is relevant to the drug safety, as you can see here, companies that delay or fail to take their obligations on safety monitoring. So whenever the companies they are delaying, okay, the inspections which they are avoiding, so inspectors they are doubting why they are avoiding the inspections. Maybe something wrong in the company. And sometimes what will happen, some companies they are not accepting, they're not accepting that they are having some safety issues are there. So in that case also we are going for this targeted inspections. Okay, next one, I'll give a short introduction about your adverse drug reactions, because this is a particular thing. The pharmacovigilance, it's a branch of science and technology which is dealing with your detection of adverse drug reactions, how to detect, how to monitor, how to assess, how to evaluate, how to report the adverse drug reactions, and how to prevent the adverse drug reactions. So before that we should know what is adverse drug reactions. You know that adverse drug reactions means that is nothing but unwanted reactions happened because of usage of any drug. Okay, so as you can see here, adverse event reporting, whatever the adverse drug reactions happened in the patients, how they can report to the regulatory bodies. So for that 4 steps are there. One is you have to identify one patient, you have to identify the patient. Okay, next you have to identify the reporter who is going to take the reports from the patients. Next step is your how to suspect the drug. Okay, whether the drug is having any adverse drug reaction is or not. Okay, so which drug is causing that adverse drug reaction, so how to suspect the drug. Next one, a suspected adverse drug event means you can say about what that drug particularly causing the adverse drug reactions. Okay, so you have to find out these 4 things. These 4 things are very much important in case of your adverse drug reactions reporting. Okay, one is you have to identify the patient, you have to identify the reporter who is going to report, you have to identify the drug which is causing the adverse drug reactions, then you have to find out the particular adverse drug reactions. Okay, next one, your, as I told you, this adverse drug reactions, these are of 2 types actually, type A and type B. Type A is your predictable and type B is your unpredictable. Type A is your predictable means we can be able to predict why this is happened actually, right? Unpredictable, we cannot be able to identify. It is maybe because of the genetic means differences, because every person they are having genetic constitutions difference. Okay, so that is why their response also to the drug also may be different, right? So type A predictable and type B is your unpredictable. As you can see here, predictable like your side effects, secondary effects, toxic effects, mutagenicity and carcinogenicity, drug interactions, teratogenicity, your non-immunological activation of effector pathways, exacerbations of disease, then metabolic alterations, drug-induced chromosomal damage, then effect on spermatogenesis. So these are coming under your non-immunological, you can say, that is your type A, or you can say predictable. Okay, so type B, that is your unpredictable. It is actually 2 types. One, you can see your intolerance and idiosyncrasy, right? So you can see here type A side effects. What is side effects? As you can see here, if you take atropine therapy, if some patients they are taking atropine therapy in the recommended dose also, recommended dose means therapeutic dose also, they are going to face the side effect like your dry mouth. Their mouth will be dried. Okay, so that is one side effect, that is called your side effect. There is a common side effect of that particular drug, atropine therapy. Whenever you are taking some atropine drug, okay, so that time what will happen, it is causing dry mouth, even though the dose is not higher also, even though the dose is in the prescribed dose, right? Next one is your secondary effect. Secondary effect means what is that called, indirect effects of the drug. Okay, it is not directly affecting, indirect effect of the drug due to principal actions. Okay, the action may be different and the secondary action also will be different. It is not directly affecting. Example you can see here, occurrence of your tuberculosis in corticosteroid therapy. So when you are taking corticosteroid therapy for a long time, there is a chance that occurrence of TB also may be happened, tuberculosis may be happened. Okay, so this is called your secondary effect, because you are going for the action of your what, you are treating corticosteroid, you are taking corticosteroid from some other purpose, but it is causing tuberculosis, right? Next one, as you can see, toxic effect. It is pharmacological action due to overdoses or prolonged uses. Okay, if you are going to use one drug for more, I mean, whatever the recommended dose is mentioned, after that also you are using. Some patients, they are not going to the physicians, they are not following the patient, they are not following up the physicians. They are continuously taking that drug, they are not stopping that drug, okay, without consulting the physicians. Okay, so in that case, some of the toxic effects are happening. Okay, example, you can see barbiturates. Okay, whenever you are taking the barbiturate continuously prolonged time, then what is happening, it is making you, it is taking you to the coma positions. Okay, so this is the main thing happened, a severe toxic effect, right? Mutagenicity and carcinogenicity, as you know, mutagens. Okay, so metabolites, whenever you are taking the drug, so it is undergoing some of the process, like your absorptions process will be there, distributions will be there, metabolism will be there, excretion process will be there. Okay, so when it is undergoing the metabolism process, so it is forming different types of metabolites. Okay, so that metabolite, those metabolites, they may cause structural changes in the chromosomes. So in your body, the chromosomes are affected because of some those of the metabolites. Okay, and due to those changes, some mutations also happened. Okay, sequencing is changed, because of that the mutations happened, like your example, anti-cancer's dogs. Okay, next one is your drug interactions. You sometimes what is happening, concomitantly you are taking more than one or two drugs. Okay, so sometimes you are taking 2-3 drugs at a time, right? Anti-diabetic, suppose some patient is, he is suffering with diabetes, and he is having also high blood pressure. Okay, so they are taking anti-diabetic drug, also they are taking you can say your anti-hypertensive drug. Also, suppose that patient is having some neurologic problem, means some neuropathy is there, peripheral neuropathy is there because of diabetes, so he is taking some of the drug which is mitigating, which is treating its neuropathy. So simultaneously he is taking 3 drugs. There is a chance that drug interactions may be happened. Okay, so example, you can see here, phenobarbital inhibits griseofulvin absorptions from intestine. So whenever you are taking both phenobarbital and griseofulvin, the griseofulvin absorptions will be reduced in the intestine because of taking this phenobarbital simultaneously, right? Teratogenicity, as you can see, fetal abnormalities will be there whenever some drugs are taken by the pregnant woman. Example, you can see here, androgens cause virilization of fetus, right? So this is one of the adverse reactions, you can say, teratogenicity. Okay, next one, type B, as I'm telling you, intolerance. Intolerance is that appearance of toxic effect in the recipients to the therapeutic doses of the drug. Whenever the therapeutic dose of the drug you are taking, the patients are taking, even though the people, they are not able to tolerate that particular dose also. Sometimes what will happen, the drug will prescribe in lower dose. Okay, this is mostly happen in case of the children, pediatric people. Okay, so in that case, what is happening, sometimes what will happen, this your paracetamol syrup they are taking, sometimes it is prescribed like your 3 ml per one day, you have to take 3 ml. Okay, once a day. So sometimes what will happen, due to some severe side effects, they are reducing the dose to 2 ml, right? Next one, you can see idiosyncrasy, so uncertain reactions to a drug in a genetically defect patient. Suppose the patient is having some genetically there are some defects in their genes. Okay, so whenever they are taking some drug, they are facing some unwanted reactions, uncertain reactions, like your example, I already told, like your chloramphenicol. Whenever you are taking some of the patients, those who are having some genetic defect, they are taking chloramphenicol, there is a chance that they may face bone marrow depressions. Okay, so this is about your type B. Next one, steps of adverse drug reactions monitoring. As you can see, identifying adverse drug reactions, you have to find out a particular adverse drug reactions, then you have to find out the causality. Causality means why it is happened actually. Next one, documentation of ADR. means whatever the adverse drug reactions you are observing in the patients, you need to enter to a report that is called signal actually, right? So you need to enter into the report, and finally what you have to do, that report you need to inform to the regulatory authorities. This is the step how we are informing the adverse drug reactions to the regulatory bodies, right? Applications of pharmacovigilance. What are the different applications of pharmacovigilance? It is helpful in national drug policy, means we can make uniformity of the drug, means we can aware the people, aware the patients that the drug is safe for all, so that the patients they will get assurance of that particular drug, of taking of that particular drug. So that is called it is going to be useful in the national drug policy. In the regulation of the medicines, we can regulate the medicines. Okay, if it is going to be useful, the medicine is okay, it is out of any adverse drug reactions, it is without any adverse drug reactions, then definitely we can prescribe to the, without any hesitations, the physicians can prescribe to the patients. It can be worldwide also, right? Next one, in clinical practice, in disease control, public health programs. Okay, so these are the applications of your pharmacovigilance. Okay, terminologies, as I told you, signal, whenever you are getting the adverse drug reactions, you have to make a report of that. How to make a report of that? You need to enter the patient name, the age of that particular person, since how long he is taking that particular drug, the duration of that, and what are the adverse drug reactions they are facing. So you have to collect all this data from the patient. Sometimes what will happen, the patients, they are not willing to express their problems, they are fearing. Whenever you will go directly, this pharmacovigilance executive, they'll go directly to the patients, they will be feared. Arey, why is that why this person is asking directly? So they are fearing and they're not able to express, they're not expressing wholeheartedly. So that is why what we are doing, we have to go through, the doctor. Means what will happen, we have to collect the data from the doctor, and we have to make a report. We have to write up the patient, which hospital you have gone, what patient, what disease he is suffering, what is the blood pressure, what is the body mass index, what is the age, everything, all the details we have to get, and when the treatment has started, and what drug they are taking, any concomitantly that patients, those patients, they are taking any other drugs or not. So those things you have to find out, right? And simultaneously you have to make a report. That report means that is called signal, and you have to inform to the regulatory bodies. Okay, means that PB experts, they have to inform to the UMC, that is called your Upasala Monitoring Center. It is situated in your Sweden, right? So these are the steps how we are informing, right? There are three types of signals actually. So whatever the report you are forming, you are making, framing, so these are actually three types. One is your confirmed signals, one is your confirmed signals, one is your refuted signals. Okay, so confirmed signals means you know the causality, means because of what this reaction is happening, right? Another one, your unconfirmed, that means you don't know the reason why the adverse drug reaction is happening. Okay, you need to investigate in that. That is the further work. You have to investigate why this particular adverse drug reaction is happening, because of which metabolite it is happening. So that metabolite also you can identify by using suitable tools like your LCMS, GCMS, some analytical tools. You can take the help, right? You can go for refuted also, refuted reports also. What is that actually? Refuted signals, refuted signals means no causal relationship, there is no relation. Why it will happen suddenly? Okay, we don't know, we cannot be able to identify, we cannot be able to predict why this adverse drug reactions happened. Okay, so there are three types of signals are there. Okay, one is your confirmed, one is your unconfirmed, and one is your refuted, right? Next one, as you can see, as I told you, post marketing surveillance. What is that actually? Post marketing surveillance, as you know why this came into the picture, because you know that in your clinical trials you are going for a particular number of patients, specific number of patients, right? Limited patients are limited up to 1,000, 100, or whatever. We're not going to apply this drug on a whole means widely. So that is why there is a chance that the drug may be having some adverse drug reaction, because as I told you, patients to patient the response also will vary. and patients to patients, the genetic constitutions also will be different, right? So they will respond the drug also in different way. So you can see here, so post marketing surveillance is nothing but you need to go to the market, you have to survey in the market, you have to collect the data, you have to collect the data about that particular drug, and you have to report to the particular regulatory bodies. Means how to collect those data? You need to go to different hospitals situated in particular locality, not particular locality, different hospitals you have to move. Like you can go to in your south part, in your southern part, in your north part, in your east part, in your west part, different areas you have to move. You have to take the data of that particular patients who are taking the same drug, and whether and you have to compare the data of all the things. If there is a similarity of adverse drug reactions in those reports, then you need to report to the regulatory bodies. So that is called your, that is a part of your pharmaco, you can say PMS, post marketing surveillance, means whether it is going to survive in the market or not, right? Next one, your, as you can see, what are the different approaches? Actually, spontaneous reporting database, you can means inform spontaneously, immediately, through phone, over phone. If it is a say, severe adverse drug reactions, you can immediately inform, okay? Because if sometimes what will happen, mortality rate is more by taking that particular drug, then you have to inform immediately. Otherwise what will happen, if it will be widely used, it will be taken by number of patients, more patients, then what will happen, the more number of patients, they are going to face the same problem, they are going to face the severe adverse drug reactions, and we cannot check at that moment, okay? So that is why you need to go for spontaneous report database, or you can go for prescription event monitoring. Prescription event monitoring means you need to go to the doctor, you have to, or you need to go to the patient, you have to collect their prescription, and from the prescription you have to analyze what adverse drug reactions they are facing, and you have to report all these things. But it is a very tedious process, it is very time taking process, because to collect the prescription of different patients is very difficult, okay? Next one, electronic health record, it is very quite easy. You need to just convince the doctor, and you have to collect the data from those people. Then patient registers also, whatever the registers are there in the hospitals, so you need to go to the hospital, you need to request them, you need to collect the data from those registers, okay? So these are the various approaches through which we can go for the pharmaco post marketing surveillance, okay? So as you can see, what are the different uses of PMS, means post marketing surveillance studies? One is your no fixed duration or patient population, so we are not restricting the number of population, number of patients. We are not fixing also no timing, no timing bar is also there. You can take some time also, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever, right? There is no time limit, such time limit. Then starts immediately after marketing. So whenever the drug is launched into the market, immediately you have to start the post marketing surveillance, okay? The day, from the day one itself, you have to go to different patients, you have to collect the data, or you need to go to different hospitals, you need to collect the data and report all these ADRs, means adverse drug reactions, you need to report to the regulatory bodies, okay? Next one, helps to detect rare adverse drug reactions, okay? So here what you have to do, you have to find out some rare adverse drug reactions. So these are the uses of post marketing surveillance. And what are the post marketing surveillance consisting of? It is consisting of three systems actually. One is your adverse drug reactions collecting and reporting system, how to collect the adverse drug reactions and how to report also. Next one is your re-examination system. Re-examination system means how to re-examine, means whatever the report you have collected, whether it is correct or not, you have to cross check that, okay? Next one, re-evaluation, whether whatever the report you have corrected is correct or not, right? So these are the three steps for your post marketing surveillance, like your, as I told you, adverse drug reaction collecting and reporting. Second one, re-examinations. Third one is your re-evaluations, okay? Sources from where you can collect all those data. Focus groups, customer service, you can take the you can means directly call to the customers, you can take the data, their phone numbers, you can call them, or what adverse drug reaction they are facing, you can call, get all these informations. Then customer complaints also, you have to analyze the customer complaints. Suppose customers, they are sometimes they're complaining in Google reviews, suppose they're giving, suppose paracetamol, what are the Google reviews they're giving. So those reports you have to collect, and you have to review all these warranty claims, Then literature reviews, you have to find out the literature review about that particular drug. Then you have to go for the media. You have, and from the media also you can collect the data, right? Next, what are the benefits actually? We can improve the medical device quality. We can improvise the safetiness of that particular drug. We can aware number of patients, okay, so that they can be able to know the safetiness of the particular drug. Okay, next one, verification of risk analysis. We can means verify the risk of that particular. Next one, detection of chronic complaints. So chronic complaints means in severe conditions we can get all those complaints, we can detect all those, we can evaluate also. Next one is your performance in different user populations. Okay, so this is also one of the benefits. So different user population, they will be aware, well aware of that particular adverse drug reactions. Okay, next one, customer satisfaction. Ultimately, the customers, they need to be satisfied, they need to be assured of the drug. They need to be assured about what? They need to be assured about the safetiness of the drug. So they should get the information that yes, the drug is safe for us when we are going to use, right? Then only the drug is going to be widely accepted or widely applicable, right? Next one, needs for your post marketing surveillance. You can see here, as I told you, what is the need of that? We can go for the spontaneous recording, cohort studies, case control studies, all these things can be happened. Okay, these are the need actually. Next one, whenever, as I told you, how to inform. So fact sheets, you have to need some fact sheets actually. In that, as I told you, patient's name, age, their details, from which date they have started the drug, what are the adverse drug reactions they are facing. So all these things you need to make it into fact sheet, and you have to send to this particular email ID. As you can see, visiflow, visibase @whoemc.org. Okay, base, and whenever you will send this one, you will get the information within 3 days. You will get one acknowledgement within 3 days. Yes, that we have received your complaint, we have received your report. And after that, case report format, they will send the case report format like your ICH E2B, the ICH guidelines according to E2B. So they will send one format, in that you have to fill and you have to send. So both serious and non-serious cases should be submitted. So you have to submit both serious one and non-serious cases also. Okay, and reporter qualification should be specified in the ICSR. So the reporter who is going to collect the report, their qualification should be mentioned in ICSR. ICSR means individual case safety reports. Okay, ICSR on veterinary medicines, cosmetics should not be submitted to UMC directly of these cosmetic products and veterinary products. Whatever the reports you are getting, ICSR, individual case safety reports, you cannot directly inform to UMC through that particular your email ID. So for that, what you are doing, you need to take some of the what is that software, you need to take the usage of software like your WHO art, one is your Whoat, and one is your Medra. Okay, so these are the you can say the software you need to use to inform the reports about your veterinary products and cosmetics, right? Next one, pharmacovigilance. As I told you, pharmacovigilance program in India, PVPI. Okay, so actually it came into India in 2004, right? And in India you can see 90,000 crore and is growing the rate of 12 to 14% per annum. Pharmaceutical industries in our India, every year there is a growth in pharmaceutical sector, pharma sector. Okay, that is why there is a need of pharmacovigilance inspection is needed. Okay, because we don't know the company are up to the standard or not, or whether they are substandard. Okay, and how they are manufacturing, they are following all the acceptance criteria or not, they are following all the acceptance criteria as per GMP guidelines or not, good manufacturing guidelines or not, they are following CGMP or not, current good manufacturing practice or not. So that we need to investigate, because every year there is a growth of pharma sector 12 to 14%. So that is why the need of pharmacovigilance program in India is very necessary. All right, total export of pharma products to is to extend 40,000 crore, you can see. So huge demand is there, and we are doing a lot of work. That is why the pharmacovigilance program in India is very important, right? You can see here WHO program for international drug monitoring. This is a chart you can see here, how the WHO is monitoring the drug, you can say your IDM, that is called international drug monitoring. As you can see, the WHO headquarters is there. They will be collaborating with your WHO collaborating center Upasala. Then it is also coordinating with the national centers. What are the national centers? I'll discuss in the next slide, right? So this is your pharmacovigilance program of India. It is in with connection with your IPC Ghaziabad. It is situated, and you can see here ADR monitoring center AMC. We can see. So what are the different ADR monitoring centers are there? Also, I'll tell you. So ADR monitoring centers are like your, you can say, government AMCs are also there, and non-government AMCs are also there. Private sectors are also there, who can report directly about the adverse drug reactions to the DCGI or IPC, you can say, right? Also, some of the means the colleges who are running the MBBS course also, from there also they can directly connect with these particular centers, right? Sorry. So what are the functions? As you can see, these are the coordinating center. As you can see here, AMC, okay, your NCC, National Coordinating Centers, CDESCO, you can see here, Central Drug Standards Control Organizations, okay. So as you can see here, what are their work actually, what are their role actually in this particular, uh, as you can see here, AMC collecting adverse drug reactions reports, then they will perform the follow-up. They have to follow up the patients, or they have to follow up the hospitals, whatever. Then assessment of adverse drug reactions, they have to assess, they have to evaluate, they have to enter entry into VisiFlow, one software. They have to use database, they have to enter the patients all the details to that. Then they have to go for the training, sensitization and feedback. They need to inform, right? Next one is your NCC, National Coordinating Center. What is the work there? Preparation of training manuals, conduct training workshops. They have to give the training to the reporters, you can say pharma executives or whatever. Publications of newsletter, means these they can give the training to the physicians also. They can give the training to the pharmacovigilance executive. They can give the training to the medical staff. They can make aware of the particular drug, right? Next one, reporting to the CDSCO. They have to report to the CDSCO, right? Then they have to analyze the PSUR, means periodic safety update reports, okay. Finally, CDSCO, what is their work actually? Regulatory decisions and actions, safety related decisions to stakeholders, then collaboration with WHO UMC, that is your Upasana Medical Medicine Center. It is in Sweden. They have to collaboratively, they have to work. And finally, provide provision and support to national PVPI. So in every country their PVPI program will be there, so they have to monitor them, and they have to control that particular adverse drug reactions of those particular drugs, okay. Next one, as you can see, adverse drug reaction processing steps in AMC. So what they're doing actually, as you can see here, notification boxes placed all over hospitals with notification forms. So every hospital, they're having some notification boxes. You might have observed or not, I don't know. So you you may see all the hospitals, maximum hospitals, they are putting one notification boxes. So in those boxes, what we are there, we have to put our whatever the severe adverse drug reactions. If you are not willing to express, you want to make yourself confidential, then you can keep there, right? If any adverse drug reactions occurs, healthcare professionals will write the adverse drug reactions and put it in red box. They have to put it in red box, and after that what will happen? They can directly report to the through phone or mail. As I told you, whatever the mail ID I have given, through that mail ID they can connect. They can call directly also if it is emergency case, right? Emergency means you can say severe adverse drug reactions, okay. Next one, they can collaborate with some technical associate who can collect the adverse drug reactions, and they have to write it in some red form, those pharmacovigilance executives. So this is the position of you. So you have to be working here, and you have to collect all those things. You have to enter into red form, then you have to assess those things, and you have to inform to the your higher authorities or what, right? So this is about your how we are informing. So rate form will be checked. After that, what is happening? The next step, you have entered that rate form. That rate form will be checked and signed by the coordinator, the pharmacologist who is evaluating the adverse drug reactions. They will evaluate that particular adverse drug reactions, and they have to use the VisiFlow data. And by using VisiFlow data, they can see all the database and they can compare, and they can see the similarity in all patients, whether all are facing the same problem or not. Okay, and finally they need to inform to the IPC. Okay, Indian Pharmacopoeial Commissions, right? Next one, adverse drug reactions reviews and analyze to any alerts or signals they have to send to the CDSCO. Finally, they have to send to the CDSCO, and this they can send to the UMC also, which is the main statutory body in controlling this pharmacovigilance, which are running this pharmacovigilance program, right? And finally, you have to inform to the UMC. So what to report actually? What you should have to report about the new drugs, all suspected reactions, whatever the new drugs it is in the market, what adverse drug reactions it is showing, those things you can, right? Next one, established or well-known drugs also. Sometimes what will happen, some drugs are there already established in the market, but we are ignoring their adverse drug reactions. Those things also you can inform. Okay, regarding their result in death and life-threatening, sometimes inpatient or prolongation of hospitalization. Sometimes some severe adverse drug reactions may be happened, they will be hospitalized. Okay, they can inform that also. Congenital anomaly, or they can go for the disability, whatever the some like your phocomelia. I said you, due to continuous use of your thalidomide drug, so the children when they are going to born, so they are born without limbs. That condition is called phocomelia. So those phocomelia conditions also we can inform directly, because this is a severe drug reactions. Okay, so these things also we can be able to report. Also, change in frequency of given reactions. Okay, means suppose every 2 days, 3 days, the reactions are adverse reactions are coming, like your skin rashes are happening. Okay, or sometimes what is happening, alopecia is there. So some of the adverse drug reactions may be happened. Or also sometimes what will happen, adverse drug reactions to the traditional medicines. Okay, all suspected drug food supplement interaction. There is a chance that sometimes you are taking multivitamin tablets and you are taking some drug, so there is a chance that drug interactions may be happened. Because of that, you are going to face some of the adverse drug reactions. Those things also you can report to the through red form to this particular UMC, right? Next one, adverse drug reactions associated with drug withdrawals. Okay, you can report those things also. Adverse drug reactions due to medication errors. Sometimes what will happen, medication errors also may be happened. Because of that also you are going to face some of the problems, and you need to inform that also. Next one, adverse drug reactions due to lack of efficacy or pharmaceutical defect. Some of the pharmaceutical defects also may be there in the dosage form also. So because of that also adverse drug reactions also may be happened. If it is not, suppose sometimes what will happen, there is some stability issues or issues will be there of the drug, if it is not stored properly. So because of that, the patient are also going to face lot of adverse drug reactions. Those things also they need to inform. So these are the things we need to inform to the regulatory bodies. Okay, through the pharmacovigilance executive. So while we are reporting, some of the things are required, like your yellow form or red form, as I have discussed in that particular previous slide, that is red form. This is your yellow form. What is the yellow form actually? This is nothing but your adverse drug reaction monitoring center. Okay, this is given by that. So AMC center, so they will give one form, in that you have to enter all this. Okay, as you can see here, patient name, age, sex, weight, hospital number, department, which ward he is admitted, if he is admitted in the hospital, bed number also, suspected drug with dose and route, what dose he used to take and through which route he has taken that particular drug, and the date of reaction after taking that drug, when he has felt the first reaction, when he has observed the first adverse drug reactions, that he has to enter. Diagnosis, how to diagnose it, how it is diagnosed, so that also he has to write there. Then he has to write also concomitant drugs. Simultaneously he was taking any other drug or what, because of those drugs maybe that reactions happened, so that also he has to enter. because if he'll not enter that concomitant drugs, means simultaneously whatever the drugs he is taking, if he is not going to enter or she is not going to enter, then the reporter or the evaluator or the pharmacologist, they may not be able to know why that reaction happened. So they may not be able to know the causal relation, right? Next one, outcomes, fatal, recovery, recovered, continuing, unknown, other. So the conditions also you have to write. Drug started on, drug you're stopped on. So when you have started the drug and when you have stopped because of these adverse drug reactions, okay? And brief description of the particular reactions. What is the reaction you have faced? That reaction you have to enter here briefly. Next one, lab data. So whatever the data you have to collect there, name and designation of the reporter. The reporter who is collecting all this data, he has to sign there, he has to write his name, signature, and he has to put the date also on which day he has collected all these information. So these things he has to enter into yellow form. So you can say the yellow form is about the adverse drug reactions of the patient, okay? So next one, as you can see, this is the red form actually. So this is the red form actually, they have to inform to the CDSCO, and they simultaneously they have to inform to the AMC center also, and they can inform to the UMC. So here they have to write about all these things: date of reaction started, date of recovery, describe the reaction of the or the problem. You have to enter the problem, what exactly the problem happened because of that drug. Then suspected medications, okay? So what are the medications actually concomitantly he was taking because of that problems happened? So all these details he has to put here. Seriousness of the reactions, so all these things, right? Reaction observed, reaction reappeared again. So all these things he has to enter into the red form. This red form will be evaluated by the pharmacologist, okay? And those pharmacologist means, you can say the scientist, he will investigate all these things. Finally, if he will be assured, then he will report to the your CDSCO or your centralized national coordinating center, NCC, okay? And finally you can inform to the UMC, because directly without any investigation we cannot inform to the UMC, okay? If there is anything wrong in that, in wrong information will be there, definitely your position is going to be uncertain, right? Then PVPI is under control of, so it is control of, these are the regulatory bodies. As you can see, CDSCO, that is called Central Drug Standard Control Organization. As I told you, it is situated in Ghaziabad. You can say Directorate General of Health Services, DGHS. Next one, IPC, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, as I told you. So these are the things, regulatory bodies. And one more is the program is conducted by NCC, that is called National Coordinating Center. So every country, every state, some national coordinating centers will be there. It may be government one, it may be non-government one, it may be private one, whatever, right? Goals and objectives, as I told you, to ensure that the benefits of the use of medicine overweighs the risk. So we can be able to mitigate the risk, we can be able to reduce the risk. This is the main objective of your pharmacovigilance study. So what is the main objective? As I told you, to report the adverse drug reactions, to detect the adverse drug reactions, to report the adverse drug reactions, to prevent the adverse drug reactions, to minimize the adverse drug reactions, okay? So these are the goals and objectives of all this PVPI. And PVPI will be consisting of the committees, like your steering committees will be there, and strategic advisory committee will be there, right? And this will be technically supported by one signal review panel. So those people who will you can say, you can technical supported by signal review panel, and they can go for signal review panel, core training panel, quality review panel, okay? So this is the governance structure. As you can see, National Pharmacovigilance Program in India, headquarters Central Drug Standard Control Organizations, and it is in collaboration with your Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. They will be having some CDSCO zones. Every state, like your in your north it is in Ghaziabad, in south it is in Chennai, in east it is in Kolkata, and in west it is in Mumbai and in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, okay? So these are the zones who are going to coordinate all these. Then National Pharmacovigilance Program Coordinating Center, Okay, that is called MPPCC. So that is actually coordinated by IPC, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commissions, and steering committee. They will be in collaboration with strategic advisory committee and review panel. They have to monitor the adverse drug reaction. So this is the overall work of this pharmacovigilance program in India. As you can see, the steering committee generally it is consisting of your chairman of DCGI, that is your drug controller general of India. It is New Delhi actually, DCGI member chairman. He is the main head of this particular steering committee. Scientific director also will be there of IPC. Then head of the department of pharmacology, that is your AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Then nominee from DCGI and ICMR, also Indian Council of Medical Research. Then assistant director general representative of your DGHS, Directorate of General Health Services. Then some nominee of vice chancellor of your medical and pharmacy universities. Some of the universities who are offering this particular course or who are running medical colleges or hospitals, they will be, so the nominee of the Medical Council of India, MCI. So people will be there from that. Also nominee, not the least, as you people are of the pharmacy council of pharmacy people, so you have a big role in future to do. So that is why the nominee also will be from PCI, Pharmacy Council of India. So this, you can see here, all are interconnected to regulate this pharmacovigilance program in India. So it is consisting of, as you can see here, peripheral, regional and zonal center. Zonal center, as I told you, different zonal centers will be there in south, north, east and west, right? So this is the thing you can be able to see regional pharmacovigilance centers will be there in north, east, south and west. And finally, one zone will be there commonly who will be controlling this northeast. That means they will control the north as well as they will control the east. And one zone will be there SW, that they will control the south and west. And finally overall will be controlled by your CDSCO, right? That is nothing but your NPPC, that is called National Pharmacovigilance Center. Sorry, NPC, National Pharmacovigilance Center. So this is the program roadmap. As you can see, it is started in 11, 12, expansion and consolidated expansion and maintenance happened in 2012, 13, and this pharmacovigilance program was optimized in 2013 and 14, and the excellence phase was achieved 2014-15 onwards. So right now we are in excellence phase, okay, in India. So these are the targets for 5 phases or pharmacovigilance programs in India. So these are the different 5 phases where we are targeting this particular pharmacovigilance program. As you can see, 2010-11 to 11-12, 12-13, 14-15. So this is a assess period actually, how we are targeting all these things. As you can see here, developing systems and procedures, enroll 40 medical colleges that time. After that, in 2011-12, enrolled 60 medical colleges. After that, in 2013, they have enrolled around 100 medical colleges. Right now, another additional colleges are there, 13, 14. 14-15 onwards, it has got the speedness in that particular pharmacovigilance program in India. So as I told you, so 2020 is up to now, it is in excellence phase we are going through, right? So collaboration with WHO. So these are the collaboration of that particular, as you can see here, UMC, Visiflow for Visiflow, this is the software for medicines, Paniflow for vaccines. So one is a Visiflow for the medicines, we are using the software, and for the vaccines, because sometimes the vaccines may be having some side effects. So because to monitor that, we need to use one of the software that is called Paniflow, right? And access to Visibase, one of the database we are using, that is called Visibase, and access to yearly information about the safety hazards. So these are the works of your these things. Then operational aspects, you can see what are the roles and responsibilities, center management, processing reports, quality assurance of the program, regulatory decision making, and communication among various stakeholders. So you need to communicate with your all the pharma companies. So these are the functions of your stakeholders, okay? So as you can see, collection of adverse drug reports, perform follow up the complaint, data entry into the Visiflow, as I told you, the software. Then you have to go for the PVPI coordinating center and the monitoring center, collection of the adverse drug reactions, then you have to follow the SOP, standard operating procedure, then you have to report the data to the CDSCO, whatever I said before. Then you have to collaboratively work with these things. You have to collect the data of your PMS, that is called post marketing surveillance, periodic safety update reports, all these. Then zonal zones, different zones you have to inform. Finally you have to inform to the CDSCO. So these are the for this particular work, what from where we are getting the funds, ensure the availability and management of funds, conduct frequent training and awareness, detect, respond to understand under reporting adverse drug reactions, quality review of field adverse drug reactions forms. So red form or whatever, we have to review that properly. Proper supervision of the centers, all the centers, whether they are working properly or not, MC centers, as I told you. Next, feedback to the healthcare professionals. So you need to inform, you have to give the feedback to the healthcare professional, because ultimately the healthcare professionals will write the prescriptions for the patients. Okay, so this is the WHO pharmacovigilance program. It is started in 1978 and it was located in Uppsala Monitoring Center, that is UMC, in Sweden, and it was in 2013. 117 countries have joined to that particular WHO pharmacovigilance program, and out of that India is one of them who has joined in 2011 to this pharmacovigilance program. Okay, so these are the functions of this particular WHO program. Is they will monitor the particular your regional centers. They will monitor the centers whatever it is situated in your different countries, and they have to regulate this pharmacovigilance program. Okay, and they have to give up to date, or they have to give updation about the particular softwares, like your any updation in the particular software, like your VisiFlow or PaniFlow or whatever, right? So these are the reporting trails. As I told you, you have to choose the report according to your ICH E2B guidelines, and some members still use the old WHO format, like your entities. So that these things they are using right now. ICSRs should be sent once every month, but at least every quarterly. So every time we have to send this ICSR should be sent every month, actually, individual case safety reports, right? So this is the distribution of ICSR worldwide. As you can see here, Korea, Spain, Italy, all over the countries. So all over the countries in this, India is included, right? Next one, this is your pharmacovigilance medical devices. And as I told you, medical devices you need to inform through some of the medical device reporting. There is no pharmacovigilance reporting, because any device is coming to the market, new device for the surgery or anything, so or for diagnosis purpose, you need to go for the medical device reporting about the safetiness of that particular. Okay, and for the herbal medicines, as I told you, for the herbal medicines become major concerns to both national health authorities and public. Okay, however, mass ADA reports or adverse events with herbal medicines, as I told you, some of the software you can use, like your Medra, right? So these are the things we are using in this. And finally, I like to say with the before concluding my session, I'll tell one thing, that is your as you can see in the slide, people who are vigilant do not die, and people who are negligent are equal to their as if dead. So this is the saying given by Lord Buddha. So hope you have liked my talk, and this is my talk. Okay, so over to all the participants, or to the organizing committee, if any questions are there from the participants side, to me, please. Thank you.
So that was a wonderful session explaining all the aspects of pharmacovigilance, its impact on the society, explaining
Yeah, thank you,
well about the
madam.
adverse reactions, approaches, and reportings. Sir, only one question I have it here is, can you share the PPT from a participant? They are
Sure, sure. Actually, this PPT you can find actually authorstream.com is there. In
okay.
Authorstream already I have shared my PPT. You can download from there.
I request
Okay.
the requested participant to follow up with sir's answer, and please download it with the author stream. So, sir, can I conclude the session then? We don't have questions right now.
Yeah, yeah, fine. Yeah, yeah. It's my over. From
But
my side, it is over,
it was
madam.
personally a very good session, sir. It was very informative. So I, Dr. Nagashri, Aditya Bangalore Institute of Pharmacy Education and Research, on behalf of our beloved chairman, Dr. B. Vishnath sir, my colleagues and students, I thank our speaker, Dr. Nalini Sahu sir, for accepting our request and giving the webinar for us. I thank all the teachers, students, and other pharma professionals for taking time and participating. And sincere thanks for your patience. And in the last, I want to conclude with my sincere thanks to our chairman, Dr. B. A. Vishnath sir, convener Suchitra madam, for giving me the opportunity, and all the teachers, students, especially from ABIPER team. I want to thank all the ABIPER team for either directly or indirectly making the session possible. Thank you so much, sir, for being there with us. Any further questions?
Thank you, madam.
Take it. It will be definitely forwarded to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure, definitely. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Before I wind up the session, you can see in the chat box, there is a feedback link given. So please kindly enter your correct details, like the name you want it in the certificate, and to which Gmail you want to receive it in. So please correctly, along with your designation, please put it in your feedback form, so that your e-certificate will be received within a shorter time, at the max a week. So we will try to send it at the earliest less than that. So if at all it is delayed or any communication to be made, you can give it to the online teach link @gmail.com. I repeat it, online teach link @gmail.com. So you have any queries regarding this session, or you have any queries regarding the e-certificate, you can communicate it so that it will be reverted back to you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, once again for inviting me.